Okay, I got the floor all tabbed, glassed in, all secured. Everything's ready now for the to put the splash well on. I used quite a bit of resin on this floor, but it's all done now. So glad that's over with. There's about three coats of epoxy on this. So first one, then the matting, and then the coating with the matting. So actually I guess it's technically 4 coats. So yeah, nice and thick. So it's all tabbed in. Before I put that last layer of 1708 on the top, I think next time probably chop strand mat would have been better, because 1708 sure absorbs a lot of stuff. Not a lot of structure here, but anyway, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But yes, the bilge well is all done. So looking to getting some bilge paint, 1 port there, everything that would run up this side of the stringers, and then 2 here, because there's a stringer right here in the middle. So there's a drain port in each side of the stringer, just in case you get water in there. And this one on the other side too, same thing. If it gets in the upper stringers up here, there's that hole between the stringer and the transom that it can drain into here and then come out that port. So lots of drainage. So that way when I'm finished with the boat for the day or whatever, then I can pull all the plugs out, and then I can give it a good aeration, make sure there's no water in there. And then I got 2 port covers that are screwed down. They're watertight. They go in the front there, and open those up when I'm done, and just to give a good aeration of air through there, and just to keep it dry under there. Shouldn't get too much water in there, and don't think my boat leaks that much, but they always seem somehow. But yeah, so next I'm gonna start to get the splash well on and get that secured, and then I got everything ground down so I can put the 1708 matting on here and fiberglass on both sides, and same as the splash well itself. So I'll do a layer or 2 on the outsides, and then also on the insides, probably at least, well, 1 layer for sure. Maybe depends what probably just 1. 17 is pretty thick, pretty scooping stuff. I'll probably end up just doing 1 layer, otherwise it might sit too high and then I gotta ferret in, or whatever you call that. So I think I'll just try 1 level or 1 layer and go from there. So looking forward to that. Also, I was working on the transom a little bit on the outside. I had a bunch of holes, some from the screws to keep it together when I was laminating the transom onto the boat here. So I filled all those with peanut butter thickened epoxy. So sanded them all pretty good, and they feel pretty smooth. So I'm gonna paint it, and instead of using that like body filler type stuff or whatever, right? So I'm just gonna give it a shot, paint it. Looks pretty smooth. Actually, doesn't look too bad. I'm surprised. So anyway, these are all filled, and these will be the holes for the motor when it goes back on. That's for the drainage for the bilge well. There's 2 of those. So, and then this, I'll put my drain plug and thing on there, and yeah. So, but I think next I'm just going to concentrate on the splash well, get that on, and then I'll keep you updated on that one. All right, got the splash well attached. I got the screws that needed to be screwed into the sides here. We still have the trim piece that'll continue on and go around, which has screws in it as well. And a little cap on the end. And another trim piece that goes on here, comes up, and then the trim goes around all the way to here. So just looking at this now, I think I should have, well, for the top parts, it would have been better to grind it once it was back on, then you can do everything evenly. I just have to do some more grinding to make sure it's all even surfaces, so it won't have a dip or anything like that. It'll just be even right across. But I did grind or sand underneath when they were apart, so I can do inside there some layers. So of course it doesn't want to line up very good. So what I did is I got some, just a strip of 3/8 plywood about an inch or so, and just screwed it to the side here, and I put a Ziploc bag, opened it up, and opened it all up, and I just put it in behind there, so when I start to do my epoxy and stuff, it won't stick onto the plywood there. So once I'm got some matting in there, and I just unscrew the plywood, and the plastic will just come off and won't stick to the wood, so the wood won't be attached to the well here. So that's a little trick I thought I'd share, is just put some Ziploc bag in between what you're working on, and that'll help you out. So I'm getting excited. Finally, the splash well is coming back on. Got to do my tabbing in here, my 1708, all 3 sides, and then 3 sides on the inside too as well. And I'm thinking that'll be pretty strong. I might extend it a bit more, haven't decided yet, just to give it a little bit longer run. I think I might another inch or so on each end maybe. And yeah, I got the drain well drains. They lined up pretty good. Just had to do a little bit of trimming, so it's not too bad. So I'm happy about that. And yeah, so now I just have to get the splash ball fiberglassed in, and then make sure it's all good, and then I'm gonna paint the back here and give it probably 3 coats of paint. I might do inside the splash well too, because it's getting pretty stained in there. So I gotta clean this up where the well boot is. Those are I'm supposed to get those today delivered, so hopefully I ordered the right ones. And also the hatch covers, which will go into here. And I put one here between the stringers and one over there between the stringers. They're just little 4-inch ones, and just have that thing you can unscrew and take it out. You can just take the cap off, both of them, and that'll give a good aeration between the drain holes in the splash well and there. So I think that'll work out good. So they actually kind of look like this. I just had one before in there, and this is what they look like. This one's broken, but I had to take it out. But it's just unscrews. It's a watertight seal, and then you just take this off. This is a 5-inch one, but I ordered 2 4-inch ones, so I have one on each side of each stringer there. So that'll help keep it aerated. And yeah, I was just thinking I should have installed my bilge pump before I put the cap on, but that's okay. I can do it. I'll just have to get on my hands and knees and crawl in there and install it that way. It would have been easier without this top on, splash well on. But oh well, learn as you go. And yeah, so should work out. It's pretty hot today. I think it's supposed to be 33 again tomorrow, or 34. Oh my goodness. So whatever fiberglassing I do here, it'll set up really quick. So that'll be kind of handy actually, because then I can, I don't know if I need more layers or whatever. So kind of thinking 1 layer might do it, because 17 weight's pretty thick, but lots of, probably 3 or 4 coats of resin on top maybe. So plus the matting will be on the inside underneath here as well, so it'll be like 2 good layers holding it together. I think that should be fine. Like I say, I may extend it a little bit more. Just gonna do a little more research. Probably the longer run you have, the better, I'd imagine. So, but even now it's just screwed down to the hull. It's pretty solid. So the only thing is my downriggers will mount here. But like I said before, I might mount them here on that swivel plate. So I'll wait till I get this done and see how I feel about it. And yeah, we'll go from there. I'm getting excited. I hear the salmon fishing's picking up pretty good out there. And pinks are starting to run good now, and still some nice coho around. And the spring salmon opening is supposed to be September 1st, so that's exciting. Can't wait for that. And then yeah, I'm anticipating the fishing. I mean, even right now you can go out there and catch hatchery coho. I guess if you run into a spring you have to let it go. It's still lots of fun to catch them. And yeah, the pinks are always lots of fun to catch. And today, right, I went to Cabela's and bought myself a new fish finder. Forgot to mention that. Here it is. I got the Garmin Striker 4. I got the same one in my other boat up at the lake and love it. So it's got a little GPS tracker in there for you, so it gives you where you've been and stuff like that, so you can mark waypoints. And for the amount of money it is, it's a heck of a good deal. So I think I paid $160 or something on sale at Cabela's. So pretty good, you know, fish symbols and that sort of stuff. My old Hummingbird one is all it has is like an actual little sort of like a Pac-Man fish symbol that goes across the screen, either a big one or a small one, and that's about it. So it doesn't really define, you know, what it is. So this will define more, because there's lots of seaweed and stuff out there in the ocean around here, especially around sandheads and stuff like that. You get those rafts of seaweed go through, and they get underwater too. And yeah, the eelgrass stuff or whatever they call that, and that can show up as a fish on my old one. And this should be able to defiscerate. Should be able to, I can't say it now. Anyway, should be able to differentiate. Yeah. Anyway, rented lips today. Should be able to recognize between eelgrass and a fish just with coloring and stuff like that you can see here. So yeah, looking forward to that. And yeah, this one it tells you your voltage of your battery, so I won't need a voltmeter in my boat, so that's good to know. And you can put an alarm on there so you can do that. And also it tells you the temperature of the water and how far you've gone, blah blah blah. Pretty good for the price. Yeah, just wish it had mapping in it. That would be awesome, but I guess you got to go the next couple of steps up, and then you're into the $500 range. So no, I spent enough on this boat, so this is my gift to my boat. So getting a new fish finder. So yeah, once I get that installed and I'm on the water, I'll do a little clip on that, how I'm enjoying it. And yeah, also picked up some new tackle today, just some new flashers and some new hoochies and stuff like that. And it was funny, I went to Cabela's and I tried to find some barbless hooks, like a 1-aught, 2-aught. They had absolutely nothing. So that tells me that there's a lot of salmon fishermen out there that are getting ready or out there fishing already. So kind of odd for Cabela's to be out of those type of hooks, but lots of barbed hooks. But the DFO is pretty finicky about having barbed hooks, even if you squeeze them down. If they put them through their sweater and if they catch on the way out, you get a ticket. And I don't think that's very fair, but depends how bad it catches, right? Anyway, that's another thing. They say you have to file them down, so it's just easier to have barbless hooks. So anyway, enough of my rant about that, and yeah, continue on and keep you updated in the next process as I glass in the top here together. All right, back in the grue here. I got the splash well attached, and I've got the first layer of glass where it's joined. I actually went underneath, and there's a whole one piece inside underneath that encases the whole area there, sticks out about another inch or so on each side. So it's all been put underneath here, and from the inside is glassed in with mat. A little bit difficult doing that, but I just pre-soaked the mat and put it up there. I just used it with my hands and with gloves on, of course, and just formed it in there. And of course I coated it with epoxy first, let it set up for about half an hour, and then it got a little bit tacky. It's nice and hot today, so that helped everything set quicker. So I've got one good coat and one layer of 1708 on the joint here. I'll have to do the inside later, because each side I had to put a strip of just a small strip of 3/8 plywood just to keep everything true, because it wanted to stick out one way or another. So put a couple of screws in just to hold it in place, and I put the Ziploc bag over top first, so if any epoxy happens to go on there, it won't stick onto the wood, it'll stick onto the plastic bag. So when I unscrew it, it'll come out and the plastic will come off, and no epoxy will stick to the actual piece of plywood there that I got. So you can kind of see it's over there too. same deal. So, and after I put the one layer on the inside, encasing the whole inside with it, then I went up top here and I gave it a sort of a light coat of epoxy and over the holes and stuff and everywhere, and let it kind of tack up a bit. And then I got some thickened epoxy, peanut butter basically, and filled all the holes, all the gaps here. And so that's all done. And yeah, the joint comes right down here. Like I say, there's thickened epoxy in there. That gap isn't quite as bad as the other side. This side was a bit more of a gap because my angle grinder was cutting a bit more in this one, but put some thickened epoxy in there, stuffed it in there, forced it in there so it's filling the gaps, and then let that kind of tack up a little bit. And I put a coat of epoxy on it, and then I laid my mat on there that was sort of pre-soaked anyway, and just kind of flattened it all out and smoothed it all out with a brush. And yeah, so now I just got to wait for it all to set up. And well, I had some epoxy. I drilled out the holes here for the drainage for the bilge well, and I just coated it with my gloves on, with my fingers. Just gave it a good coat of epoxy inside the wood there, just in case it does leak. So I made it all be caulked and sealed when I put those fittings back in there, through hole fittings. So yeah, getting closer. So tomorrow I'll be able to do, actually tonight I might be able to put another layer of epoxy on and sand any rough areas maybe. I don't know, we'll see how it feels. I just want to get as many layers of epoxy on this as I can, just to help so there's less filling involved, right? So then I can sand it, and then hopefully have just a nice evenly where it joins there. Hopefully you won't be able to tell. So probably be able to see where the matting ends, but whatever. If I sand it good enough and ferret all in, it should be okay. So yeah, so that's where it is. Glad to have the splash wall back on. I was a little bit stressed on how that was going to attach and stuff, but seemed to have worked out pretty good. So once this sets up, then I can take off these strips of plywood on both sides, and then I can glass in this side, both on the insides there, and go from there and start just kind of thinking maybe four layers of epoxy maybe, or more on there, just to kind of help build it up. Try not to use any fairing material or body filler or whatever, so I'm trying to just use epoxy. Somebody may say, oh, you're doing it all wrong, you should have used the filler. I think, well, whatever. It's if it looks good, it looks good. Once the paint goes on here, you may not be able to tell at all. So, and that's the other thing. And once that's ready for paint, then I'm going to paint this back here too. I was going to do a gel coat, but I talked to the guy who owned the boat. He says no, he didn't gel coat it, he painted it. So I don't want to start a big process of changing things and whatnot on the finish. So I'll just give it a good sand and prime the areas that look bad, and give it a coat of the bright side polyurethane, I believe it's called. And here it is here. Yeah, bright side polyurethane. And I got it in Matterhorn white. That's the color, apparently he painted it over 20 years ago. So glad they still have that color, makes it easy. So actually it was pretty reasonable. I looked at other paint by Pettit, and the Pettit paint was about $40 more for the liter. I think it was about $100, and this was only $60 or something, I think. So yeah, it's quite a price difference. So I thought, ooh, that's kind of weird. So I did research everything, and yeah, they both seem to be very good paints. It's just, I don't know, one just seems to be more for some reason. So anyway, that'll be another video when I do the painting, and yeah, we'll go from there. Get Nancy to get out there and get some salmon. Apparently it's pretty good right now. So, and of course the boat's being worked on. Isn't that the way it is, right? Fishing's good, the boat's broken. Fishing's bad, the boat's fine. Haha. Oh well, all good. And today my port access, hole access fittings came today. So these are going to go in the front of the boat. There's a stringer that runs right in the middle here, and there's one here and one here. So I want to make sure I got good airflow, and just to double check if there's water in the boat or whatever, because I won't be able to see unless I pull the plugs back there. So I did have one originally here in the front of the boat, just a single one that went over the stringers to sort of cover both ways. But I thought I might just put two in, just be maybe a little bit easier to get at. I don't know, haven't decided yet. I might just put the one in here that goes over top of the stringer, but it's just kind of hard to cut the plywood out where the stringer is, and I don't want to bother any epoxy or anything there. So I think I'm just going to put one on each side. That way it'll have good ventilation. Won't do anything to hurt the structure or anything like that. So there's lots of glass and fire and epoxy on this, so shouldn't be a problem. Should be good. And that way too, you can put stuff in there. I don't know. Maybe you can hide your beer. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, all right, just so I let you know about that, and once I get that cut out, I'll show you what it looks like, and once I have it installed. But I have to put my vinyl matting on first in the boat, and then I'll install those on top of the matting and cut the hole where the matting is. So, all right.